Hey, welcome back. We have a brand new comment to look at and make a video on. And judging from last time where we discussed if WoW is still fun, it kind of relates to it a little bit. But
it's adjacent to the conversation. I guess it would make sense because obviously people responded to the video that we made. We cannot just make another video of WoW is fun or not, but this had like an interesting take that we can discuss.
Exactly. So how this works, every Tuesday or Wednesday, you can comment on the topic, or you can comment on a brand new topic in which we would discuss, debate, and so on and so forth, and make a video about, okay? And the one that gets the most votes, or the one that we found the most interesting, something like that, we'll make it into the video and we'll make an actual video about it. So let's check it out. The comment is from Zalion. It got the most likes. It's 51 likes. He said, "For me, no, it is not really fun. It still feels like chores." And this is what we want to address here. Is WoW still like a second job, really, after all of the changes? Because once we read this, we were like,
it doesn't really feel like that's true for us because we're
a little bit biased.
Yeah, and of course, that doesn't mean that it's not true. That sentiment is coming from a place. So where I can see that it can be a chore, comparing it to when we had Torghast, when we had Shadowlands, when we had BFA Island Expedition.
Torghast and Shadowlands were kind of in the same place.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's the same expansion, some would say.
Yeah, weird enough. But listen, like ever since like Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands, that was like, yes, we could have talked about the chores and the fact that it was a second job and all of that. So you hit it right on the mark. So, but you wanted to compare to Torghast.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So the thing is, obviously we don't think necessarily it's chores, but I think the problem is somewhere else that might make us feel like this is a little bit chory, because I think Legion changed modern WoW. A lot of the things with modern WoW, where it gave us repeatable endgame activities that are somehow gated to not feel like you have to spam them all the time. And because they're gated, you can never really finish them in like one go. You have to always come back next week, always come back next week. And this could...
That's the magic word, gating.
Yeah, and this could feel like they're like a chore, like a job, because you always have to be there the next time, the next time, the next time. And I think maybe one of the biggest issues related specifically to the War Within is, well, two maybe, the Saranile Cersei Circlet and I guess the Horrific Visions enchants right now. I don't know how the belt will be, but I guess the belt, because it's probably going to launch by the time you see this on the US and tomorrow for EU, but the belt is probably the same thing. It's just grind for some little tiny power, but that's kind of like the only thing you can do.
Okay, but let's break it down. What are the chores in the War Within, actually? Because if we take out 11.1.5, if we take out 11.9.7, right, we have just, let's say, the first season and the launch of the second season. Well, first season kind of got you also in the Saranile. But apart from that, what did you have to do, actually? You have to just play normally.
Because I am broken, I can tell you of something that I feel like I need to do that I didn't think it was a chore before, but now it feels like something, I guess I'm not able to do my thing this week, and that's the vault. The vaults can be considered a chore in the sense that you have to do it every week, because if you're a Mythic Plus player, it's the only way to get Myth Track gear. If you're having like bad luck in RNG, and Vault is like a big issue, we can talk about it. Vault has become a reliable source of player choice when it comes to gear, as reliable as 3, 6, 9 choices of gear can be.
But Vault right now is way better than Vault from the past. And
yeah, but that's the problem.
Take into account that we had Vault plus Torghast plus Covenants,
but I'm saying
plus. So now it's only Vault. Is it like we had the Vault plus all the extra things? Is it still chory? Because the thing is, when you think about chores, it's basically all the things you have to do extra to gain some power. Now, if that power is gear, I don't see it like a chore. If that power is something that completes my spec, makes my spec function, then that's a problem.
Yeah, see, this is why I totally agree with you. I don't think it's a chore as well, but I hope this is why, and you can let us know in the comment section below, but I think this is why people might consider it a chore, is because the game is boring at the moment. Because if we compare it to Wrath of the Lich King, if we compare it to Mists of Pandaria, if we compare it, maybe, I think TBC is probably back in person, outside of just doing your dungeons and your raids, you had other stuff to do that was fun and engaging. Either you discovered a new faction, level it up, or go through the story campaign a little bit more. There's this new raid and new dungeon that you do. But right now, WoW has become so formulaic that it feels like the only thing you can do endgame is dungeons and raids. And when you're like 5 months in, it becomes a little bit stale.
You also have delves.
Yeah, and then they release like a little bit of content that's kind of like the only thing to grind, and then you do the Siren Isle, or you do the Horrific Visions, or you do the overcharged delves for the Titan Belt. So that can feel like a chore because people don't really like the content as much, but they see like that's the only way to progress their character, so they're kind of forced to do it. It's not really chores, but if you don't like it, it will feel like a chore. It becomes like a chore,
yeah. I'm trying to understand where Zalion is coming from here. And yeah, it makes, I guess, more sense that in this spectrum of the only thing you can do in the game is delves, dungeons, raids, and maybe PvP. So these are like the basic modes. And if those are not fun, then they would start to feel like chores. Sure. On the other hand, looking at it objectively, you cannot really compare. Like they did, as much as, we criticize them where criticism is warranted, but they did so much to eliminate that.
Yeah.
Like starting from Dragonflight up until the War Within, you cannot really say it's still like a second job or you still have like a lot of chores. Again, I understand. The game is boring. You have to do the same content over and over again. There's nothing new. There's nothing fresh. There's also the fact that a lot of people tend to like chew through the content really fast. This is the nature of the beast. It's a seasonal game. Every time there's a new shiny diamond in your face, you want to, it's mine. You consume it really, really, really fast. I don't know what's the formula
There's no replayability for a lot of the content that's new and fresh. The only replayability is the dungeons. Raid progression, you cannot really say it's replayability. You don't want to prog the raid twice or three times again and again.
Yeah, achievement runs, small runs, there's a couple of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. This feels a lot like the conversation like back in my day, we used to have
but it's not really that far away because we had Shadowlands, which
I agree. I think the problem
Shadowlands was like I feel Shadowlands was like the peak of having chores. Like you had to log in, and I'm not bullshitting you. I had an Excel tab.
Seriously?
Yes, especially when we started like Mythic rating and stuff. I had to be sure I did all of my things properly every day.
The courtier shards, the legendary soul lash thing.
Yeah, the soul lash.
Those were chores. Yeah,
and that was proper chores. It didn't feel like gameplay necessarily. It felt like chores. It felt like a second job. No, honest to God, that was 100%. Now, I guess it is a bit stale, but you have much more freedom. This is okay. You got bored playing, I don't know, 200 dungeons and doing the raid so many times. Okay, you have the freedom now to jump onto an alt, and it's way better than jumping onto an alt in Shadowlands, in BFA, Legion, and so on. So you can have that going for you. I feel like it's a double-edged sword when players have to find their way of having fun in the game. The game doesn't really provide you all of the avenues, but second job, I think that's a stretch.
This is an interesting. I wanted to ask you like a two-part question. One, you said it really well. Whether players have to find their fun. This used to be the way that WoW was played in vanilla. Because it was just sandboxy, but it was rich with all sorts of things. It was also a different type of game when you discovered it. Now we know everything, and this is the second part question. Do you? I think the main problem of this is that WoW is being too formulaic, and I
too
say
predictable.
Yeah, predictable, formulaic. I say this a lot, but I think that this is true because people know what they're going to be doing next patch, 11.2, whenever that's going to be announced. They're going to release, I don't know, maybe, but obviously a new raid. We're going to have 8 new dungeons in a season or whatever they bring back for all dungeons. That's usually how it goes. We're going to have probably a new faction. We're going to level a little bit of rep with that.
Yeah, but there's also the fact that there's a lot of data mining, there's a lot of simulation, and there's a lot of a lot of external tools that kill the discoverability and probably some of the fun factor as well. I'm not saying eliminate that, but I am acknowledging the fact that there is at this point there's basically no more wow factor.
The wanderlust
there's nothing to have you like surprised. Obviously you have a choice to like steer away from looking at Wowhead, from looking at videos.
And those people don't watch our videos usually.
but to be fair, we are living in an age where information is everywhere and distributed fast, so it's kind of hard to like steer away from all of that. But I'm saying it's a reality, man. It's a reality that we don't mind it too much, but it definitely kills the fun of it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how fun it would be to start off in a raid where you
nobody
don't
knew
know
anything. I remember my story back in the Burning Crusade, where during those times you took a lot longer to level. So by the time you reach endgame, it was a big chunk of the game. It was also a time when WoW wasn't seasonal, right? Whenever you came in the Burning Crusade, at the very least, for better or worse, because it had its problems, you had to do pretty much all of the content, all of the dungeons. Yeah, you saw it, right? Because we made a video on it.
Yeah.
But I remember the joy was like, oh my god, I'm done with my Hellfire Peninsula quest lines. I want to see the Zangar Marsh zone with all of the mushrooms. Like that stuff is not present. Even if we level up in the new expansion launches with new zones, that feeling of like, ooh, what's going on? Part and parcel because we do what we do, so we kind of chew through that in the PTRs and betas.
We're not like, okay, but that's part of our job.
Yeah, basically. But I believe for most people it might be the same, because the new zones are usually very light on the content, because most of the content is going to be gated. I think this would be the second or third problem of why people might feel like it's chores. Because you don't have access to the entire content to explore it at your own pace. You have a specific pace dictated by the devs, and if you don't fulfill that pace, you kind of you're left behind. So then you create this FOMO feeling that you have to do it, and if you have to do it, it becomes routine or it becomes an obligation. Then it might feel like a chore.
Yeah, if you think about games that are very successful, like say Expedition 33 right now is like really popping off.
Yeah.
That's a game where you don't know anything about. It's a stretch to compare WoW with that, but I'm not comparing these two games. I'm comparing the feeling of, you know, finding something new or being surprised by something.
Feeling like you're on an adventure.
Yeah, you didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Now, this feeling can be translated into raids, possibly dungeons as well. But then you have the 1% crowd, which wants super predictability because they're like, you know, the most competitive out of them all, the no-lifers, the whatever. They want all of the information.
That's fair.
How do you please everyone in this sense? Because again,
you know what?
Yeah.
So sorry, just to chip in on what you're saying right now. I think there's a problem with how WoW is designed, where people feel the need to actually research the content ahead of time, is because a lot of the rewards and player progression is locked behind, I don't want to call it skill, but performance. And because it's locked behind performance, and because the game is seasonal and you only have a little bit of time to get what you want to optimize your performance. Okay, maybe you're not the top 1% crowd, right? But you still want to get that best trinket. You're going to look up where is that best trinket getting, or what even is your best trinket, as opposed to a time when, you know, you would just get gear and gear would be good, but now everybody's running the damage meters and the weak cards and everybody's playing perfectly. And if you're missing that one thing, you feel like you're being left behind. And that feeling needs to be like optimized.
Once again, I understand why it's there, and we're not rejecting that. You know, it's part of the game now. It's modern WoW. We cannot like just shove it off and say, oh, it's bad. No, it's not bad. We're just acknowledging the fact that it is killing part of the fun element in the game, and to some extent it gets more and more into that feeling of having chores to do in WoW. Although I think we made it pretty clear we don't feel it's like a second job or Chorecraft
we live through different times.
I mean, we lived through the Chorecraft period of WoW, so it's nothing like that. I think like one of the good steps they're taking is actually with the add-ons and WeChorus, and the fact that they want to have the game less based. I mean, they don't want to make you be dependent on computational add-ons, and have the game much more visible and predictable within its interface. That's a good step. That's still a long way.
That's a good step, and I think that plays to what I was saying before, is if you make the game easier, more accessible, it won't matter as much if you perform at the top percentage unless you want that personal glory. And there's few people that do that. Exactly, a lot of people just want to feel like they can actually do the content. And because the barrier for the content is so high, locked behind other item level or specific BIS gear or BIS talents, people feel the need to hyper optimize or to look it up online. And whenever they do that, they they go into the hamster wheel cycle.
It is the modern version of World of Warcraft. It's seasonal. We kind of like got used to it. I just feel there's still a lot of like avenues where Blizzard can come in and either make it that repeatable content much more engaging and fun, or add extra layers of different game modes or different activities to just spice it up a bit and have it impactful. It's a long discussion, but what do you guys think? Is it still Chorecraft or not?
What else would you be interested in knowing about? So we actually like looking at the comments you guys post out and see exactly what the interesting subject is, and we want to kind of make it a series. So if you have an interesting thing to talk about, whether it's Chorecast related or whether it's the new belt that is so amazing for you.
Anything WoW related, just throw it in there. And again, if we find it super interesting or if it gets the most upvotes, it will be featured in the next video, and the next video will be based on your comment. How about that? And before you think about that comment, you can check out this video and see what Flame has to say about
all of the expansions ever released in 1 minute or less. Because if you think the Chorecast is now, wait until you hear how Shadowlands was.
It's beautiful. Check it out.